Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today for you guys is another MCU movie review. Today we're tackling the second Avengers film, Marvel Studios' Avengers Age of Ultron. Now this film was kind of hated on and shat upon and spat upon when it first came out in 2015. And, you know, a lot of people online are going to say, oh, is it the worst one? Or, oh, it's the worst Avengers movie. And, oh, it's just such a bad Marvel movie. It's just nothing good about it. I don't know. I don't really understand that. Is it the worst Avengers movie? I don't know. At the time of recording this, I have not seen Infinity War and Endgame in the terms of I mean, I know them by heart, but in terms of like rewatching them, you know, maybe, I don't know. You know, I mean, it's just this movie's such a hard thing to talk about because you need to understand that this, you know, living up to the standards of the Avengers 2012. I mean, it's practically impossible. I mean, that was the biggest comic book movie and one of the biggest movies ever made when that thing came out. It's impossible to, I guess, try to replicate that success and be like, oh yeah, Avengers 2, it's better than the first one. Is it though? Because you have that sense that, you know what I mean, it's the first Avengers movie. It's like, oh, the Fellowship of the Ring or the first Star Wars movie or whatever it is. It's just kind of hard to tackle that stuff and be like, okay, this is better, I guess. And yeah, it is a little bit flawed. I'll get into it, but is it bad? No, I don't think it is. I think it's very underrated and very much overhated. However, I had to take a deep breath for that one. However, there are some issues with it because you know, I think Joss Whedon is kind of a very good, depending, but also very formulaic director. Right? He did the Avengers. He did, of course, this. He did 2017 Justice League. I think that was that year, and he did some other stuff, I'm sure. But this one was just, I don't know, something weird about it. It's very good. The action is amazing. The writing is really good. The CGI is freaking awesome. You know, you kind of have to make it good for an Avengers film. But then you get to some of the writing choices, which for the most part it's good. But again, Joss Whedon has this very specific and strategic way of going around things. And it's just very awkward because there are, you know, you have to strike this balance between, okay, you know, humor, comedy, and action. But when you try to blend them together, sometimes it doesn't work, right? I mentioned this in my Guardians of the Galaxy review. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 strikes that balance between intense comedy, action, all that basically perfectly. And Joss Whedon, this movie, of course, he's a different director, different human. So this is definitely going to be a little bit more of a different thing to talk about because his directing stuff is different. But is it bad? I don't think it is, but there are some things where I'm like, okay, you know, there's certain jokes and certain, you know, I guess, quips and all that, which is like, I don't know if that worked, you know, there's stuff like, I don't know, I can't even really, just little clips like, you know, Captain America saying, we are not fine, we are very much not fine, and he's smashing an Ultron robot, or, you know, Thor and Hug just like, oh, you're just over the hammer swing and all that, you know, or you get, Tony Stark, obviously, it makes sense every time he does it, but it feels like, you know, they took Tony, and Joss was like, alright, Tony Stark is a funny guy, and he does quips. Let's have everyone do effing quips, you know what I mean? That's what he did. He's like, Nick Fury's a quipper. Agent Hill's funny. Everyone is just funny all the time, and there's joke upon joke after quip after quip. It should be called Avengers Age of Quipping, or Avengers Age of Quips, or something, because it's not overly shoved down your throat, but it is there. And it is a little different than what you would think than, say, you know, the first movie, or say, Infinity War. And I get it, he's a different guy, he's a different director, and he wants different stuff. And that is really as far as it goes for the negatives. There are some funny moments that just aren't funny, and it just feels kind of cringy and cheesy, right? You got the classic, you know, guy falling on boobs. I don't got a problem with boobs, but at the same time, it feels like, oh, he did that in this, he did it in Justice League. It just feels kind of weird, like, alright, you're doing that joke twice. It's funny this time, but I don't know. And then you also have, you know, I guess, like I said, these crazy quips that everyone's doing, which is not bad. You know, you get, like, stupid stuff, too, like Agent Ulysses Claw, when they go to South Africa or whatever, and he's like, cuttlefish, the scary, dangerous cuttlefish, you want some candy? It's like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Not everyone, you get, like, a really badass guy, he's got tattoos, he's got a pistol, and he's just offering candy, you know what I mean? I get it. The MCU has been accused of going overly funny at sometimes the wrong points. And I think this is one of those movies. Is it bad to, like, egregious where you're like, oh my god, you know what I mean? No. But there are moments where it did feel like they could have toned it down a bit. I mentioned this in my Ninjago Dragons Rising review, where there's moments in that show, without spoiling it, where there's this big battle battle scene. Everything's intense, and one of the guys is like, I like unicorns! Don't hit my collection of toys! It's just like, okay, it's funny, but it's at the wrong spot in the story. You know what I mean? That's exactly what this film has a lot of the times, where it's like, okay, it works, and it is funny, but it's just at the wrong area in time, or stuff like that. You know what I mean? They're nothing too bad negatives, but it is there. But what you do have in terms of positives is a very, very, very entertaining movie. Even more entertaining, I think, than the first Avengers film. The first Avengers movie is, like, stupidly iconic, but when you really take away that iconicness and just look at the films, I do think Age of Ultron is a bit more fun to watch. I think it has some really, really good stuff. I mean, just how the opening alone is definitely incredible. I mean, the snow fight, that one-shot take, that awesome, scene where they kind of dive in at the beginning. Oh, it's good. It's good stuff. And then you also get, of course, Baron von Strucker, and you get the introduction of the twins, right? Quicksilver and Wanda Maximoff, a.k.a. the Scarlet Witch. And they're good. Of course, as we know, Quicksilver dies in this. He gets riddled with bullets from Ultron flying like a Quinjet or a VTOL or whatever. But he's an alright character, I guess. There's this one moment, though, where him and Wanda are talking to Ultron, and, they're kind of describing this bombshell nuke thing that, like, hit their home and killed everyone, and the bomb it didn't go off, so they're, like, up and looking at the bomb for, like, 2 days straight. Just any sudden movement could set the thing off. And that's why they're like, oh, we hate Tony Stark because of that, so we're going to join Ultron. And it's a good motive. And the way they, change sides to join the Avengers, it's not the best arc in cinema, but it's a good arc. But the way Quicksilver's like, it is a very, very, very bad story. And Ultron's like, go ahead. And he's like, well, this bomb hit the building and it blew a hole in the floor. It's big. And he just didn't, it's like, just stop it, you know what I mean? The whole, when he went to the hole, it's a big hole. Like, I don't give a shit about the big hole in the floor, you know what I mean? Like, come on. So just little things like that. I don't think it's that bad writing. It's more or less Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think that's how you say his name. He's going to be Kraven, by the way, this year, I think. His delivery was just kind of wonky. I don't know. It's just, there's certain moments like that where it's very cringy to me. But other than that, though, I mean, like I said, they are genuinely, for the most part, well-written characters. Of course, it's crazy to know where Scarlet Witch begins in this film, where she's kind of evil, and she's kind of like manipulating the Avengers and all that with this like horror element, and it's really crazy because this one shot where she kind of, I think it was Captain America or something like that, when he was like trying to beat up Strucker, and she kind of goes, her crazy finger thing, and she she kind of goes like to his head, and she kind of like backs up. And I'm not going to replicate it because I don't got the time to edit right now. I got to watch Ant-Man. But she like backs up, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? If you see it, it's like she backs up, but it's not. She does a moonwalk like how I'm doing. She kind of goes like it's like she skips frames, and she just kind of jumps around. I don't know. I found that kind of creepy, and when I saw that, I literally said, "Oh my god!" out loud. Because after watching the Multiverse of Madness, I was like, "Oh, that's actually cool." That this, I don't want to say horror element, but this kind of creepy and eerie nature to this character was always kind of present since the first film she was at, which is really freaking awesome. That was my knuckle that I just cracked. But I do think that it is a good arc for her, how she kind of, in the end, when she kills Ultron and she kind of, she rips out his heart, indicating that that's what Ultron did when he killed Quicksilver. It's good stuff, man. I think she's a good character, and of course she's going to get even better as time goes on in these MCU rewatches. But Ultron, we can talk about Ultron for a minute, because he is, I was actually talking about this with my podcast with Recon Trooper, and he was like, oh, we kind of talked about the Age of Ultron film there for a little bit, and I do think that Ultron is a good villain. I think that it's really cool how he starts off as like this kind of broken Iron Man, Iron Legion thing, and then he kind of upgrades multiple times, throughout the movie. So then at the very end, allergies, you do kind of see this evolution where, I'll admit, he does at the end, in his final form, he does kind of look like he's wearing metallic lipstick, just a little bit, kind of wonky, kind of weird. But the second form, where he's talking to Black Widow in like the jail, and it like, just like grabs through his face and fucking rips his head off, and then the last form shows up, that form is really good. But I think Ultron's a good villain, man. I think, again, like I said with Guardians of the Galaxy with Ronan, the MCU kind of has this, they have really effing good villains, like top tier villains, and then they have forgettable villains And then they have pretty good villains. I think Ultron would fall into the category of pretty good. I think CGI is good. The motion capture, whatever they did for that is good. The voice acting is good by James Spader. The line delivery is good. He's creepy. He's kind of quoting the Bible a lot. He's kind of got this, robotic / like enigmatic look to him, where he's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm a robot, and he's got the Tony Stark DNA, and that's even one that tells Captain America, Ultron wants to save the world by any means necessary, by, a la blowing it the F up. And she's like, wonder where he gets that from, huh? And she's, of course, quoting Tony Stark, the guy that made him. So Tony Stark literally creates his own demons, as he said in Iron Man 3. And he kind of regrets it a whole hell of a lot. And he literally gets this vision. And he says he was shown a vision where everyone kind of dies. And he's like, oh, yeah, I did this. I literally caused the Avengers and the entire world to be destroyed. And then, of course, that leads into Scarlet Witch, kind of, with him even more. And it's good stuff, man. It's good shit. It's like horror movie stuff in a way. You get the Thor thing. The Thor thing is good. I don't really know if it really followed through. I guess in Thor Ragnarok, Asgard gets exploded or whatever, so maybe that's what they're referring to. I don't know. But, Heimdall's got these crazy white eyes. You're leading us to hell, Thor. And Thor goes with Selvig to this, little hot tub and wherever the hell they go. And Thor, of course, they have to insert the shirtless Thor thing for the trailer. But apart from that, where I'm sure all the ladies were freaking out, Lightning's freaking out. He's going, ah! Screaming. And don't cap that, by the way. Don't clip that. But anyway, yeah, he's doing that. And then it's just, I don't know. It's whatever. He's like, he comes back and he kind of powers up Vision, or the Vision. And he's like, oh, well, I had a vision that, I had to go over here and destroy this, and the vision of the Mind Stone. It's like, okay, I guess, that, they didn't need to go to the pool, the hot tub oasis pool thing. That it makes sense if you really, really, really think about it, but it does break up the flow a little bit, and it's just kind of wonky. But yeah, Thor's good, Vision's good and all that, but yeah, going back to the whole mental manipulation thing with Thor, he's kind of freaking out. Then you get Captain America, where he is envisioning this World War II party, and he finally gets to dance with Haley Atwell, Peggy Carter. Now, it's funny, because in the movie, she's like, oh, we can have our dance, and then he kind of turns around and no one's there, and then he's just kind of left in this, empty ballroom. But in the Lego Marvel's Avengers video game, great effing game, but in the Lego Marvel Avenger game, you play through a lot of the MCU movies, and you play through Avengers Age of Ultron in the Lego Avengers game. And in that level, they do that, but of course a lot of it's played for funny. They say, Heimdall doesn't say hell, even though his hell is H-E-L, which is Norse mythology. Hell isn't really a swear word, I guess. It's kind of a place. It's like more of a noun, but whatever. Instead of saying you're leading us to hell in the game, he says leading us. Okay, whatever. Yeah, but in the game, you get that, and then you get the Captain America thing, where in the movie, like I said, they all just kind of vanish, and he's just left alone in this giant room. In the Lego Marvel game, everyone is crunched over, and I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to sit down on the floor, but he kind of goes, imagine I'm sitting, and they're all going like this. It's everyone's having a panic attack, or they're all they have stomach problems. I don't know. It's really effing creepy. If you played the game, if you played that level, you know what I'm talking about. It's effing weird, and they're all kind of contorting and weird. It's like Evil Dead shit in a Lego game. And then the Iron Man one is, of course, as I said, gets these visions. Hulk, of course, goes on a crazy rampage, and that's what I mean when I said in the very beginning of the video where it's very entertaining, right? You get the awesome opening, you get the quips and the jokes that work. You get the house party, which is good. You get the Ultron, which is a pretty good villain. A little flawed. He kind of makes a little bit too many jokes, but he is more human. He's like, oh, for God's sake, or, hey, guys, wait. Kind of like that. He's not just like, I'm evil and I'm going to kill you. He's like, oh, okay. I'm more human than a lot of the other human people, and he's a friggin' robot. But, yeah, and then you get the Ultron stuff. You get the Ultron fight, and then right from there, it leads to the Hulk fight with Iron Man and the Hulkbuster, which is really fun to watch. And then, of course, you get the... it's funny, because the movie's... It's a long movie. It's 147 minutes or so. And you think after the Hulk fight with the Hulkbuster, they go to Barton's farm. You think that would be okay, now we're kind of wrapping up, and we're going to go to the end with Sokovia. and it's flying and all that, but instead they kind of go for another thing first. And it's good, you know, it works, and then after that, then you go to that scene. And speaking of the end Sokovia fight, it's cool. I think it's a really, really cool fight scene. Of course, they kind of retread that familiar ground because, of course, Joss Whedon is very familiar as a director, right? He's got the boob thing, he's got the jokes and quips, he's got some crazy battle where, like, you have, like, you know, in Justice League 2017 or Justice League, they kind of focused on, like, the parademons or whatever, kind of like this weird, like, Russian Sokovian family. Like, I don't care about this family. Why are you showing me a family? Avengers 1 had Beth the waitress or whatever. In this film, you have some big boob lady, which, again, I got no problem with, but it's like she's literally, like, in the camera like this. I just found it kind of funny. Again, I'm not complaining, but it's kind of funny when, like, there's a 9/11 times 20 happening. Again, I'm not making that a joke, but that's what it is. And you know, she's carrying her son and all that, and of course they kind of follow her throughout, you know. And then Joss Whedon just was like, oh, we got to pick a family, we got to pick a person, you know, we got to do this. You also got New York getting exploded in the Avengers 1. You've got Sokovia getting exploded in Avengers 2. You've got a giant army of Chitauri in Avengers 1. Giant army of robots in Avengers 2. A lot of this feels familiar. But it's not tired, and it's not boring, and it's not like, oh man, he's just doing Avengers 1 again, but worse. It's Avengers 1 again, but it's on par, if not better, in my opinion, in terms of the action and the epicness. I mean, that one shot where they're all kind of slow motion and each character gets their own little time to shine. Really good stuff. You got the train slowdown scene with Wanda. Again, just good stuff all around, man. Really, really cool, awesome stuff. Cool that we got this end credit scene with Thanos again saying I'll do it myself, so that was kind of unique that they're setting that up. But overall, man, I do think that this film, Avengers Age of Ultron, is underrated. It's overhated, and I do think it's really, really good. Again, this guy, Peter Travers, who's on every single box art, says, epic in every sense of the word. And I do think it is epic. It's probably more epic than the first movie. You know, I mean, we get the awesome opening, we get the Hulkbuster fight, we get the whole, like, Scarlet Witch thing, and then, of course, we get the Barton Farm kind of cool-down area. And then we get, of course, the big Sokovia fight and all that. I mean, it's really good. You know, some of the jokes don't land. Some of it feels a bit corny. Some of it, you can tell, it's very Joss Whedon-y, where he has to do specific things. Like I said, the lady, follow a family, attack in a city, bunch of people attacking you. It's not bad, and in fact, it's probably more entertaining than the first movie. But there is a bit of like, okay, you know, I'm kind of glad he didn't do Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. I'm glad Kevin Feige or whoever wasn't like, all right, Joss, you do everything. I don't know about Joss Whedon as a person. Apparently he's like a human trafficker. I don't know. I don't want to confirm that or deny it. I don't effing know. I don't really care. I just know he made a really good Avengers movie. He made a really good sequel to that, and then he made a pretty shitty Justice League movie. Not gonna lie. I do think that Justice League 2017 is not as bad as the internet says it is, but compared to the Snyder Cut, again, it's freaking night and day. But this movie, Avengers Age of Ultron, is a very good film. I don't know why people hate it so much. There are some issues, like I said. There's a few things here that I would change, a few jokes I wouldn't have put in certain spots and all that. And there's some familiar aspects from the first film that kind of carry over into this one where you're like, all right, I see what you're doing, but it kind of feels like the same thing. But again, that isn't a bad thing, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And in this case, it very much is not a broken movie. I think it's really cool. And again, it sets up all these really awesome character arcs and these really cool moments with, of course, Scarlet Witch. And again, you know, the Hulk thing. Hulk sets up for Ragnarok. You know, some really cool Black Widow and Hulk arcs in there. I think every character is really good. They all kind of face their own demons. In the first movie, they were kind of fighting and bickering because they were just starting to, you know, get to know each other. In this film, it's very much like, okay, we're a little more comfortable with that, but now Scarlet Witch is doing her magic thing in my effing head, and we're all kind of going crazy. And it's good stuff all around, though, man. I think that the songs are good. The music is good. The writing is good for the most part. The acting is, of course, fantastic. The villain is good. I think he's pretty good. He's better than most MCU villains that we've gotten, I think. He's cool. The Vision being introduced is cool. They kind of set up the Vision and Wanda romance. So yeah, man, good stuff. If I'm gonna give Avengers: Age of Ultron a rating, I'd probably give it a B+. I think it's really good. I think it's a solid film. Just shy of that A range. Again, my main reasons are the fact that it's kind of familiar. There's a few things that aren't funny when, you know, too jokey, and then there are some lines that are just straight up effing cringe. Like I said with Quicksilver going, it's big. It's like, we don't, or the puffer cuttlefish thing. I don't know. I feel like he was trying to, oh, this is funny. Laugh. It's joking. But it's just like not funny because the MCU, ever since its inception, its creation with Iron Man 1, the MCU has always been, like Ninjago or Star Wars, action drama. It has never been a comedy. Some films are more comedy-centric than others, like Ant-Man, Thor 3 and 4, Guardians of the Galaxy. But a lot of these Marvel movies are designed from the ground up to be action dramas, with some funny moments mixed in. And I think Joss kind of took that and was like, let's make it more funny than really it should be. And a lot of that, for me at least, ended up in not so funny moments. But overall, man, it's freaking fun as heck. Really good movie, really entertaining. I love rewatching it. I haven't seen it in quite some time. It might have been the first time I've actually seen it with my glasses on, now that I think about it. So that's actually pretty cool. But I'm going to have to replay the Lego Avengers game and, just play that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. B+. I think it's a really good Avengers movie. Maybe, obviously not as good as Infinity War or Endgame, but I don't think it deserves the hate. I get there are some issues with it, but it's fun, it's funny for the most part, and when it works, and again, man, it's just, it is epic. Like Peter said on the back of the box art, man, it's an epic movie. It's very, very awesome. It's just full of great action, great, humor, again, for the most part, great writing, for the most part, great acting, and again, that perfect ending of Avengers. And right before he says assemble, they kind of cut it off as a joke. Now that works, and then of course we do see that follow up in Endgame, which was one of the best moments in MCU history. But yeah, man, good stuff. I can't wait to dive into Ant-Man. I'm going to be watching that tonight. At the time of your seeing this, I've probably already seen it. But I do enjoy these movies. I really am enjoying my rewatch of all these films. And yeah, man, I don't know. Avengers Age of Ultron, I do think it gets overhated, and just that opening is worth it alone, right? Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.